Next stop, Sherry.
You can see where we're starting today. Our own political reporter, Paris Schutz, is here with me right now. And Paris, what is going on in the mayor's office?
Well, it's kind of a version of the same story we've been telling for a few weeks. Another high-level official the mayor's trying to fire, but this official is saying, I'm not going anywhere. So this time it concerns the operating chairman of the Chicago Housing Authority, Matthew Brewer. He was appointed by Rahm, so he's been there for 13 years. The mayor fired him, allegedly, and replaced him with an ally, a commissioner named Joanza Malone. But Brewer says you don't have the authority to do that. By our bylaws, the mayor cannot just remove me. So why is the mayor firing him or trying to fire him? And we just did an interview with Brewer, and Brewer said it himself, because the mayor did not get the person he wanted confirmed to be the new CEO of the $1.4 billion Chicago Housing Authority. That's the big public housing agency. And so the mayor is apparently being vindictive here, wanting to remove him. Now, it was a 7-2 board vote to confirm the person that the board wanted.
And didn't the mayor say that, like, they didn't do something by the Open Records Act?
Right. They've claimed that the vote happened in closed session and it violated the Open Meetings Act. But what Brewer told me today was it was a public vote. It happened in the public. Everything's on the record. There's a transcript of it, and the mayor doesn't have the authority to fire him. So Brewer selected, and the board selected, did a search. He explained this search, nationwide search that they got. He calls the guy they landed on a rock star. It's a man named Keith Pettigrew, who ran the D.C. Housing Authority, so another big city. Yeah. And before that, he was in New Orleans. So he has experience, you know, running some of these big city housing authorities. Mayor Johnson wanted someone else. His name is Walter Burnett. Now that's a familiar name.
Yeah.
So he was the former 27th Ward alderman. He resigned.
His son.
Before his term was over, and somehow a community process that the mayor put together landed on his son, Walter Redmond Burnett, to take over. I mean, this is a version of something that's happened over and over and over again in Chicago. So the idea was Burnett he was very open, he wanted to go to the CHA and be the CEO, and he thought the mayor could probably get him there. But the mayor hasn't been able to do that, and the CHA operating chairman, who he says is still the operating chairman, says Burnett has a conflict of interest because he's a property owner, and he takes money, federal housing voucher money, so you can't run the agency while you're also getting money from it. And they haven't dealt with that, so he wasn't even a part of the process. So he's saying the mayor is being vindictive now, and we'll have to see. He's not going. He says Pettigrew is going to come in, they're going to train him, and he's going to take over the job.
So he's saying, I'm going to step aside one way or the other, but it's going to be who I select, not who you select?
And it's complicated. Well, it's not, because it was 7-2 board votes. So
who we select, not who you select.
They all selected through the process, the legal process. What's going on is because there has been no CEO. Brewer is the kind of the de facto CEO and chairman. So he explained this to me. It's a position they created on the board, and because of that, the mayor does not have the ability to remove him from this position. And so he says the process was all legal and sound. They settled on a quote-unquote rock star, and that's what they're going to do going forward, unless the mayor comes back with some other move to try and remove him. You know, so. It's just another personnel issue, and I have to say a bungled one. Lots of mayors have installed their person. Lots of mayors have cut deals, like Walter Burnett kind of cut, you know, we believe, obviously. And the mayor has not gotten his way on a couple of these things because it just seems like they haven't dotted a lot of I's and crossed a lot of T's. If you want your person, first of all, the conflict of interest wasn't figured out. Second of all, you've got to, you know, twist some arms on that board. But that board, only 2 people voted against Pettigrew. So there's a lot of arms still to twist here that apparently the mayor hasn't done. So it's to me, it feels like a self-inflicted wound of the mayor has complained that, hey, you know, other mayors have gotten their person and their say, but there are processes here. And what Brewer is saying is the process has to be respected. If he doesn't like the outcome, but he has to respect the process.
And the timing of this, be it the other public issues that have been happening, the firings, the resignations over the last few weeks, just kind of adds to the stain.
Nancy Andrade, the Commissioner on Human Rights, there was a dispute there that led to her resignation. The former deputy mayor of public safety and his top lieutenant, dispute led to their firing. and they spoke out about it. They thought it was totally unfair. So, I mean, this is a pattern right now.
Do we think that it's just kind of where we are in the mayoral cycle? That you would start to see some maybe turnover right now?
Could be, yeah. I mean, the mayor at this point in his term, he's got about a year left or more, and maybe gearing up to run for re-election. We don't know that for sure, and maybe he just wants to narrow down on. And this is what people are saying to me, is like at some point it does feel like his senior team are just trying to narrow in on the people that are on the same page. And you know, when the mayor started, there were people in this office that, you know, you talk about Abraham Lincoln team of rivals, you know, Doris Kearns Goodwin, and there was a little bit of a, you know, different perspectives. They had 2 chiefs of staff. One of them was a former, you know, police, high-level police official. So it seemed like there were competing viewpoints, and now they just want to settle on their viewpoint.
And that's not unlike most politicians.
No.
They do want to have people around them that kind of align with where they're trying to go.
Well, look at President Trump. I mean, and apparently the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who seemed to stand with him and praise him every time she uttered a word about him, is gone. I mean, so yes, I mean, we have a lot of leaders right now, nationally and locally, that are really trying to install their will. But again, what Brewer is saying here is, but there is a process, and the mayor doesn't just get to willy-nilly say, this is my person, and now you got to take him.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's why he's saying, well, you violated the Open Meetings Act.
Has he said anything, the mayor, has he said anything publicly, or have you heard anything about his feelings on Pettigrew? Is it just, you know, I mean, it's one thing to want your person, but like, I mean, do you feel like this person isn't qualified? Do you have an issue with this particular person?
They issued a statement yesterday saying something to the effect of, they thought that Brewer was playing politics with this process and not doing it the right way and not going about it the right way. I think it would be hard to argue with the credentials of somebody that has run a big city housing agency. Walter Burnett is not. You know, Walter Burnett has run his businesses, run his ward, but this is a $1.4 billion agency. And let's not forget that the CEO will make, I don't know, 6 figures, probably in the 2s, maybe more, I don't know. But like, so it's a nice salary and perhaps another pension here.
And why do we need a new CHA director?
Well, they've been without one.
Right, and what happened to the last one?
Fill me in on that one.
I'm legitimately asking, like, why was there an interim?
Because they just haven't filled it. So the last one, I don't remember if they were let go or they just left, you know, in the change of administration. But this is one of these agencies that has had an open seat for a while. Same with CTA. There are issues here with the mayor, you know, figuring out who his person is for that. CPS finally, after a year-long search process, settled on the person that was in the interim. You know, there are a lot of these are big agencies, the schools, the housing. I mean, they have to be CTA, which is, by the way, like with CTA, they're going to get like $1 billion more with this new state bill. And if the mayor doesn't get somebody, then this new authority that the bill created will have the power over the mayor to do it. So the mayor is losing time here, and there are a lot of positions that have not gone filled. And in this case, because there are just issues here with the mayor getting the person he wants.
Well, there's a lot of conversation surrounding it. Let's talk a little bit more about Pam Bondi, Attorney General Pam Bondi. That was the other thing we wanted to talk to you about, other than our local politics.
Because I interviewed Brewer. That came out while I was doing it. So I haven't followed it very closely.
But it was rumored yesterday that this was likely to happen. But do we know what was the rub? Well,
we know that the president has publicly been upset about the fact that his quote-unquote perceived enemies, you know, have not received more prosecution. Now, they tried to bring charges against the former, James Comey, you know,
FBI director.
FBI director, and it fell through. Right. You know, they tried to bring charges. Where was the grand jury that didn't return the charges against? Was that
Letitia
Comey?
James?
Letitia James. So he's saying, well, he somehow blames Bondi for that. I mean, if you don't have a case, you don't have a case. The AG can't just make up charges and make up a case if it's not there. But the president is seeing it as she's not doing good enough here. I don't know if it has something to do with the Epstein files. There's a lot of complaints about how that was rolled out, the delays, the redactions, things being withheld. And so there's rumors that that's what it was. But, but go back consistently, the president has said he wants people prosecuted that he believes wronged him in some way. And it doesn't seem like Bondi is following through on that.
Yeah, I mean, it goes further than an indictment. She's been able to get like an indictment that's come up, but no one has actually been convicted of anything.
Comey, charges dropped. Letitia James.
Same.
The grand jury doesn't even, that's a very rare thing when the attorney or the U.S. Attorney's Office, the prosecutors go to a grand jury, they make their case, and the grand jury says, we don't agree there's a case.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really weird.
Yeah.
So Trump obviously blaming, I mean, it's hard to make the case to the president that there are, same thing. There's a process. There are laws. President doesn't seem to like that.
Yeah.
We're seeing leaders that don't seem to like.
I was going to say politicians.
These being encumbered by these things called laws and processes and checks and balances. Those things are part of democracy, and we don't have a dictatorship here, and a president and a mayor.
I was going to say in the country or the city.
A president and a mayor doesn't just get to do whatever they want whenever they want. There are laws, there are rules, there's boards like we see in the CHA. Again, the mayor's making the case though that the board didn't follow the rules. So we'll have to see, what more evidence they have to come out.
Okay, all right. Well, lots to follow up on, and we know you're staying on top of it all. You said that you interviewed
Brewer. Yeah, we'll have more of that at 4 or 5 and later on.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for coming up.
You, Anita.
We appreciate it.
All right,
it's 11:12. Everybody give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Just about 1:15 right now. Let me tell you a little bit about some of the other things we're getting into in this hour, since we just kind of went right out of the gate with Paris. We're going to talk about, we told you about this week that it's street sweeping time, that the season has picked back up, once we finally can say goodbye to some of the winter activity typically that happens around here. Then, of course, you transition into what? Street sweeping. And so once we found out about that, we also heard about a creator of an app that lets you know when you're scheduled to get street sweeping, where the street sweepers are. I mean, think about like Waze or something like that for transportation. but for street sweeping. Could be pretty cool. We're going to talk all about it, get the ins and outs of it, so that you'll know if it's something that could be helpful to you. Also, we're going to be talking about some of the fallout or possible issues that could come from ramifications that could come from the war in Iran. I mean, whether that is in the imminent future or down the line, particularly when it comes to cyber crimes, which is something that could hit almost all of us, right? And I'm sitting here with 3 devices right here next to me, but we're all on a litany of different devices throughout the day. And so we're going to be talking with Eben Brown about some of the conversations surrounding an increase in cyber crimes connected to the war in Iran and what we should all be on the lookout for and make sure that we're not falling victim to. We're going to have all of those conversations shortly, but I want to start here at this point in time with our conversation with Amanda Friedemann. She is with the Holocaust Museum. She is the Associate Director of Education, and I want to get right into why we're here with you today. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit about the loss that you all suffered this week.
Yeah, yesterday morning, we got the unfortunate news that Sam Harris, the president emeritus of the Illinois Holocaust Museum and a Holocaust survivor, passed away. Sam was the heart and soul of our museum. He was a very prolific speaker, sharing his story of survival with tens of thousands of people over a nearly 50-year period. And he was really the driving force behind building our museum in Skokie, transitioning our organization from its origins in a small storefront in downtown Skokie to what it is now, one of the largest Holocaust museums in the world.
Wow. I mean, what a legacy at this point that he will leave behind that's affected so many people, impacted so many people along the way. Let's say someone never had the opportunity to sit and read about Sam or listen to Sam one-on-one. Tell us about that survival story.
Sam was born in Dęblin, Poland, a small town, and he was 4 years old when Germany invaded Poland and his hometown was bombed in the invasion. Over the next 5 or 6 years, he lost his entire family, except for his two of his sisters, Rosa and Sarah. Sam and his sisters survived ghettos and concentration camps. Sam was one of the youngest survivors of a concentration camp in the entire Holocaust. And the most amazing thing about his survival was that, first of all, that he survived at all, but also that it didn't make him bitter. It gave him actually a joy for life and an enthusiasm to know people and to connect and to share what had happened to him, but also to share everything he learned from that experience. Fortunately, our museum was one of the very first museums in the world to participate in what's called the Dimensions in Testimony project, which is a collection of interviews with Holocaust survivors that interact with an algorithm, all kinds of computer stuff behind the scenes, and it enables visitors to actually ask questions of Holocaust survivors and get answers and have a conversation. And Sam was one of the very first survivors to have his story preserved in this form. And so visitors to Illinois Holocaust Museum can actually still meet Sam and talk to him and learn his story directly from him.
Wow, that really is incredible. I can't even imagine the things that he saw in his lifetime and experienced in his lifetime. and to still take joy from it, from his life, and to spread joy in the world really is an amazing story and testimony over time. When you say he was one of the youngest survivors, how many other people do we think are still alive that would have been experiencing the same things or similar things as Sam during that time?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a little bit tricky to answer. Sam was about 9.5 years old when he was liberated from the concentration camp. And there are a few thousand Holocaust survivors left in Illinois, still living here in our state. They range in age from their kind of early to mid 80s up to 100 plus years old. So Sam was definitely at the younger end of the spectrum. He was born in 1935, so we can math that out a little bit. Yeah. But it was children were very specifically targeted during the Holocaust, and so as a demographic, children were much less likely to survive than adults. And so the fact that so many were able to survive is incredible. And the fact that Sam survived within the camp system is even more unusual and special.
Yeah. And for him to see that part of civilization, and then to, in his latter years, be a part of like a technological project to preserve that story. I mean, that in and of itself is really astounding that he lived to be able to see and be a part of something like that.
Absolutely. Sam's life was unlike anyone else's. But I was actually fortunate enough to go with Sam and his wife Dee Dee to Los Angeles about 10 years ago to record that interview. And just seeing him in that environment and knowing that even though we who knew him would never forget his story, knowing that people for generations to come would be able to not just read his story, not just see a documentary about him, but to actually talk to him and to interact with him and get to know his personality and to see the real him, even after he's gone, was just an incredible gift. Actually, after I learned the news about Sam yesterday morning, one of the first things I did was go into our Survivor Stories Experience Theater at the museum and pull up his interactive and talk to him and let him know that how much I was going to miss him and to hear some of my favorite stories.
Oh, that is so beautiful, so poignant. And again, it is a gift to have that opportunity. If any of us can kind of think of someone that made a great impact on our lives and just how special that would be after they have passed on, to have that ability to do something like that. It seems super special. They're at the museum. What do you, in 2026, losing now one of the youngest survivors, what do you hope that people are still grasping in the museum in 2026?
We at the museum hope that people continue to be curious and continue to learn not just about our incredible survivors, but to learn from them, to learn both the darkness that humanity is capable of, but also how resilient and strong and capable people are and how much individuals can overcome, particularly when we work together. We have spent at the museum the last 15 plus years working not just to preserve the facts of survivors' stories, but to capture them in new and innovative and engaging ways so that audiences will continue to come and learn and interact with our survivors. In addition to the interactive interviews and the digital conversations that I mentioned, we also have virtual reality films that allow visitors to learn Holocaust survivors' stories in the places where those stories happened, through virtual reality, to go back to a survivor's hometown, get a tour of their world with them, to visit the places of hiding or the concentration camps where their stories happened. We know that not all of our visitors will likely have the opportunity to visit Holocaust sites in Europe personally, but they can get the next best thing by visiting these places virtually in these different experiences. And there is so much that we can learn from each of these survivors.
Definitely. Let's say someone is unfamiliar with your background. It's beautiful. It tells a story in and of itself. Tell us about it.
So this image behind me is the Pharaoh Fountain of the Righteous at the Illinois Holocaust Museum's Skokie location. This is a memorial honoring individuals who have been named righteous among the nations. It is an honor granted by Yad Vashem, the kind of official Holocaust memorial in Israel that honors non-Jewish people who risked their lives to help Jews to survive the Holocaust. And every one of the righteous honored on this fountain either helped a survivor who came to live in the Chicago area, so there's a very local connection, or the righteous person themselves was lived in our area. So these are all stories that are connected to the Holocaust, but also very much connected to our local community.
We could all use a good ally, and definitely it is a beautiful thing to see them honored there. I'm not sure, obviously this is new, what you all might plan down the road to honor Sam, but please let us know.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, please come visit us at Illinois Holocaust Museum Presents Experience 360, our satellite location at 360 North State Street in downtown Chicago. You can learn about Sam and so many other amazing Holocaust survivors.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry that it's under these circumstances, losing someone who meant so much to you personally and to the museum, but we really appreciate you sharing more of his story today.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, you take care. Everyone give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. It's 1:30 right now, and President Trump's address last night, he said that the war in Iran could take another 2 to 3 weeks. And, of course, each day really becomes pivotal, right? It already has become pivotal in terms of some of the things that we see in terms of gas prices or the stock market that's been up and down. But also maybe something that you don't consider. Experts say the threat level for Iranian hackers is only increasing as the conflict drags on. And I want to bring in Fox Tech correspondent Evan Brown to talk a little bit more about the danger that exists. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Good to be back with you.
We always appreciate having you here. What is your thought on where we are in terms of the possibility of Iranian hackers causing some issues here in the U.S. and how much that increases as time goes on with this conflict?
Well, we've had a number of them throughout the years anyway. Iran had developed its cybercrime unit, if you'll call it that, to try to attack its enemies, both in the, obviously we know that they attack enemies in the real world, but they do it in the cyber world as well. They've done it to, or they've tried to do it to Israeli government and Israeli outfits, but also to American government and outfits and private sector entities and whatnot. In fact, there was just one not too recently, or excuse me, not too long ago, and it was a medical company called Stryker, and they were able to hack into that company and disrupt its ability to take orders, process orders, ship out things. And you can understand why that would be such a problem, because if that's a company that, let's say, hospitals or patients are dependent upon for their medical needs, and all of a sudden they can't get the supplies that they need or whatnot, can't get a hold of someone at the company, let's say, that could be truly problematic. And some of this is designed really to just create a lot of havoc. Other times there are efforts to try to extort people, to lock up their systems, lock up their data, and demand some kind of ransom payment to be able to release it. So there's a wide range of things that these bad actors will do. Iran is not the only one that does this. North Korea is famous for it. Russia does it. And there are private groups just all around the world that will do it for hire for someone else. So it's a problem that is pretty severe and pervasive. But it is also something that we as individuals, as teams, as companies in the private sector, as government agencies can work to mitigate the risk to us, and that is having good cybersecurity. And it comes down to some very simple things, at least on the one-to-one level, keeping that password of yours secure, change it every so often, make it something that's not easy to guess. If you get word that your password has been perhaps compromised, maybe it was your bank, they had an intrusion, change that password. That alone makes things much harder for the bad actors out there and can give you a little bit of peace of mind.
Just a few days ago, I think it was, there was so much buzz about the FBI director, Kash Patel, his emails being hacked. I mean, if it could happen to the FBI director, what does that say about the rest of us?
It could happen to anyone, and sometimes it's just something that's just so silly, and you kind of realize that you did something you shouldn't have, and that you have exposed yourself in that regard, and you kind of feel really silly about it. Don't feel silly about it. A lot of people can get taken because they're just not paying as close of attention as they should be. They get perhaps an email or a text message, something appears very, very legit. Maybe it's purportedly from their bank or whatever. They go ahead, they click a link, nothing happens, or they click a link and it looks like it's the real website, and they go ahead and they interact with it, not realizing that they've just given away perhaps their login credentials, perhaps even a credit card number. That actually happened to me, and I'm not too proud to admit I got fooled by a very good-looking website that I mistook for the real deal for a skincare company. And thankfully my bank was able to track this down really quickly, and so I didn't have any harm. But just in the moment when I realized I had been had, I said, "Oh goodness, how could I have fallen for this?" Now I don't know who exactly was doing the hacking. I don't think it was Iran in that case, but that's how this all works. They try to fool you into giving off or giving out your personal information, and then they use that to either compromise your accounts or try to hold your accounts for ransom for you to then pay them some money to get it freed up. And that's all a crime. Certainly, if it happens to you, you should report it. In some cases, they can police or FBI can do something for you. In some cases, not so much, but it's always good to report it so you have record of it.
Well, props to you for being open about getting taken, because like we said, it could happen to anyone, and it happens so fast, and there's so many different things that we have to kind of be mindful of these days. What do you think, even from a national cyber security perspective, like how significant could a hack be? How much guarding do you think that we have as a country from something that could be much more significant on a greater scale?
Well, that's a great question. And it comes down to some great, having to have great habits. You can spend all the money you want on firewalls and all of those things that can go, into the hardware of your computer systems. But ultimately, you need people who are being vigilant and using their technology properly. So if you're, for instance, on the government end of things, especially on the military end of things, there are certain apps you're not allowed to have on your phone because they aren't secure enough to be on the same device that's interacting with perhaps sensitive information or just proprietary information. There's a reason why large companies invest a lot of money in this, for having these secure two-factor or three-factor login systems to be able to check your company email or whatnot, and to only have to use company-owned and company-managed devices, whether it's a phone, a smartphone, or a tablet, or a computer at the desk or whatnot. That's to protect bad actors, and all sorts of companies can be targeted from this. For instance, our own company for which we work, and for everyone who's watching that we're so grateful for you, but the Fox Corporation, without divulging any secrets, they're constantly on the lookout for this because we've had attempts at cyber attacks in the past. And we're not the only media company to be targeted like that. They all are, essentially. And that's because you've got bad actors who are A, looking just to score some money, or B, trying to interfere with what we do as media companies. It's happened to movie companies. They've had their footage for upcoming films stolen and put onto the black market. That's lost revenue in that regard. Now, with regard to an actor like Iran, they are looking to exploit. They're looking to create havoc. They're looking to make you feel that your country can't protect you as a citizen from, let's say, your own personal finances or your own personal health care records from them. They're looking specifically to scare people with this type of action. And you should know that that's what they're trying to do, and that you have a defense against it, and it starts really with you, protecting your personal information.
The two-factor, as you were saying that, the 2 and 3 factor, we were in here discussing that as well, like, to make sure we addressed having 2 to 3 factor, identification there. I do want to bring up, you said a part of the goal is to make you think that your country can't protect you, but we are still in the midst of a DHS shutdown, Department of Homeland Security shutdown, and one of the agencies under there is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA. So can they really protect us right now if that's a part of what's shut down?
Well, CISA does a lot to protect the federal government, but with regard to us personally and the private sector, that's really on us to be as vigilant as possible. And it does come down to just having really good personal cybersecurity habits. The less you give out to people you don't know, the safer you will be. Thankfully, we don't have really the ability for these bad folks to just simply hack in willy-nilly into your personal computer. They'd have to be able to access it somehow. You would have to have given up some kind of again, like a password or something for them to do that. And so, yes, having government agencies look over the cybersecurity welfare of the nation as a whole is great. And we have our own offensive cybersecurity matters that that the U.S. military does to conduct on our enemies, trying to infiltrate their networks and conduct that kind of warfare in response. But for us personally, again, it's just personal responsibility. It's corporate responsibility. And it also means being that good corporate employee steward of your company's technology. Don't give out your company email password to people not in your company. That can create all sorts of havoc. And you'll certainly earn the ire of all your IT staff if you do that.
Yeah, we chuckle until it actually does happen. And it has happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me also ask you, we've seen and seen these reports of drones trying to hover around military installations over the last few weeks as well. Does that kind of raise alarm bells to you in terms of cybersecurity, that could be a way of plotting something or a way of monitoring something?
Well, that's certainly quite scary because we want to know what's flying around above us. And when we hear reports that some kind of drone or other kind of aerial device is hovering around the secure spaces of our domestic military bases, our power plants, we should be entitled to some answers at some point on this, and we should always keep pressing for that. The concern is that those drones could do physical damage, or they could be doing espionage. They could be taking pictures, videos, and whatnot. The question is for whom? And oftentimes, those drones are kind of local to their targets, right? We haven't yet seen a drone outside of perhaps maybe weather balloons emanating from China, which we had a whole big catastrophe a few years back. But those smaller that are propeller driven or whatnot, they're not going to come across an ocean to spy on a domestic U.S. military base. Someone launched that much more closely, right? So the question is, who is doing that, and how can they be interdicted, and what are they doing with that? Are they taking photos? Are they taking are they taking videos, and who are they giving that to? Do they work for another country, or are they kind of freelance and putting it up to the highest bidder, a rogue nation, another terrorist outfit that's out there? We just that's the work of the FBI to investigate. And so, of course, if you see anything, certainly say something. Call police. They'll always come out and investigate something like that.
Yeah, you just wonder, if we really have put an emphasis on, and I say we, the president has emphasized for our country that there has been an emphasis on taking out infrastructure there in Iran. But we're also witnessing a change in warfare. And so you just wonder, for a country that may not be able to meet us eye to eye from a military standpoint, what they could do from the capabilities that they do have.
That is true, and part of that includes one of the reasons why President Trump was so insistent on creating Space Force. Our satellite capabilities are amazing. The way that we can transmit information through our satellite system around the world is not just a marvel, but it's integral to our economy. Imagine a bad actor, an Iran, a North Korea, blowing up some of our satellites, knocking our communications abilities out of whack. That's, first of all, could be devastating. It could be expensive to repair and circumvent, to have a workaround. We can't just launch satellites, tomorrow. That requires a lot of planning to do something like that. So defending our space interests is very, very important, and the president kind of made that a top-tier importance by creating Space Force as its own branch of service. It shows how serious he took this and how serious that problem could be. And it just put us, I think, in a much better footing to defend that infrastructure, if you will, that we have up in space, which is integral to our communications down here. Not just person-to-person talking, but the ability to transfer money, for instance. Right? Imagine all of a sudden we can't access our funds or can't make a payment somehow. When's the last time you wrote a check? Very few people do that anymore, for good reason, because it's much more convenient to send a payment through some kind of payment platform or a bill pay feature with your bank's app and whatnot. But imagine we knock out the communications capabilities that those services rely on, and all of a sudden we can't send money, we can't make a payment ourselves, for paying our own bills, whatnot. Certainly there would be grace periods in the event of an attack like that, but imagine how catastrophic and how crippling it could be if stock trades couldn't happen because of the communication system going down because of an attack. So this is more about, this is more than just, someone reading your email or maybe getting access to your bank account. This is about damaging financial systems that could really bring our economy to a standstill if we weren't prepared. And thankfully, I think we are quite prepared. And nothing's ever 100%, but I think we're on a pretty good footing.
Well, hopefully we're prepared. Hopefully it's never even tested on the level that would cause concern. Thank you so much for your time, Eben. We always appreciate having you on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks. Anytime.
Right. Take care. Everybody, it's 1:46. When we come back in 2 minutes, we're going to talk about getting some help, notifying you when street sweepers are getting ready to come on your block. All right, everyone, 1:48 right now. Earlier this week, we were saying you've been warned when we put out the alert that street sweeping in the city was getting ready to begin. Usually they will put up a sign a couple of hours before, but inevitably people will end up with tickets. Things will go wrong. And so here's a bit of help now to keep you from having that horrible experience of going out to your car and you're like, what? Michael Rodriguez is the creator of ShySweep. It is an app that could help you. Let's go ahead and bring him in right now. Hi, thanks so much for being here on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Tell me how the app works.
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, street sweeping just started April 1st. And if you're a Chicago driver, you already know the drill. The orange signs go up. And if you don't move your car in time, it's a $60 ticket. And here's what most people don't really realize is that the city collects over like $15 million a year just from street sweeping tickets alone, according to the Chicago Department of Revenue. And the thing is, there is a way to check your schedule, but if you try doing it, you have to go through a really long process of doing it, going on the city's website, download a PDF, find what block your section falls in. So I built an app called ShySweep. It's a free app on the App Store. You open it up, you search your address. In about 5 seconds, you can see your exact street, what the sweeping dates are for that entire session. And it's going to cover all 50 wards in Chicago. And it's going to tell you which side of the street gets swept on which day. Because in Chicago, the north side of the street gets swept first, and then the south and east side of the street gets swept the next day, and most people just don't know that. So the app can notify you when those street sweepings are coming, and all of the data is coming directly from, the city of Chicago's open data portal. So it's all accurate.
This is pretty cool and very forward thinking. How long has this been in the making?
So it's probably been in the making for about, a week or two at this point. I was kind of rushing to get it out before April 1st, which again is the date that's just started the street sweeping. So about 2 weeks or so.
I was thinking you would say 2 years. So it speaks very highly of you that you were able to kind of come up with this so quickly and put it in an app form. What is your background?
Yeah, so I actually work in cybersecurity, which is funny because you guys were just kind of on that topic prior to this. But nonetheless, I have been working a lot with AI and whatnot. And I don't know if you guys have discussed vibe coding at all, but I did vibe code this app. That's why it was so easy to do within 2 weeks. If you have a good idea and you want to make something out of it, it's never been easier.
That is exactly why I asked that question. Okay, all right. Now it makes more sense how you were able to do this so quickly. I'm sure you didn't just think about this as an idea 2 weeks ago, though.
No, I guess it kind of started like last year when I was parking on the city, and I got, my own parking tickets. It's about a $60 fee if you don't move your car. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to track this. So I wanted to, figure out a solution to do so. And the phone app kind of made perfect sense, since everyone has their phone while they're in their car, and they're able to kind of check where the next sweep is coming from.
And is this one of those things where you can set it up for notifications on your phone, or maybe click notifications on or off?
Yes, so it does have notifications built into it as well, and I'm constantly updating it so that there's more features. So more features to come soon. Is
there a cost?
So it's completely free. There's a small banner ad at the top, and for notifications, there will be a one-time $2.99 fee. Otherwise, it's completely free to download and use.
And how many people have signed up so far?
So I just launched it yesterday. I posted on TikTok and Instagram. My handles are ShySweep. And from there, I got about 28,000 views in my first day. And from that converted to about like 250 downloads. And hopefully it continues to go up.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. I mean, well, it speaks to the need, first and foremost, that you're working to meet here, and the interest by so many people, which means they've probably gotten tickets in the past, or just want to avoid ever having that experience, as we've been saying. Either one would motivate you to want something like this.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, everyone, you can download my app at ShySweep. It's on the App Store if you have an iPhone, and the Android version will be coming soon. I have a lot of family and friends that are also downloading the app because they face the same problem, and it really is a real issue. Even just yesterday, I saw a few cars with the orange city ticket on there. So we all know that pain.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you mentioned, this is the original version. Where would you like to go with this?
Yeah, right now it's just Chicago focused because that's where I live and that's where, I see the problem is. But this concept could work in any city with street sweeping. So for now, I'm just focusing on making, the best tool possible for Chicago drivers, and then expanding to other cities when I have the time.
What other features would you like to add to it?
So I'm building out a feature to actually track where the street sweepers are, because like a feature or something that I want to build out into the tool is a way to show you, hey, this street's already been swept, you can park there, because the orange signs give you a range of, hey, no parking from 9 to 1. But if the street's already been cleaned, you can park there, but it's not always very obvious. So I'm trying to build that out now.
Very interesting stuff here. What would you say just about how far we've come that you even have the ability to be able to do something like this?
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like a lot of the conversations I've been having with family and friends are kind of surrounded around AI and how it's making a lot, if you have a good idea and you have the time to kind of put that on paper, for lack of a better term, you can make anything you really want to. So I would encourage anyone who has an idea to start going out there and play with AI tools that are around and see what you can build.
Yeah, and we have a conversation literally almost every day in some form about AI. And quite honestly, there's a lot of concern about AI. There's a lot of fear about AI. But there's always stuff like this, the good uses of AI.
Absolutely. It's kind of a double-edged sword. There is a lot of downsides to it, right? It can definitely like remove different jobs from the market as well. But there is a lot of upside, just like this idea and a lot of other people that are kind of building businesses using AI. So I think, again, it's like anything. You can look at the negatives, but I choose to kind of focus on the positives and what you're able to do with it if you're just a little bit creative.
Well, congratulations on getting this up and running already. You said it's in our app store right now. What do we need to look for?
Yeah, Shy Sweep is the app's name, and it's in the app store now. Feel free to follow me on TikTok and Instagram as well. Again, it's Shy Sweep, and download it now.
Okay, all right. We're all going to have to check it out and hopefully avoid those $60 tickets. Thank you so much for your time and for creating something that can help so many people in Chicago.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well. Take care.
Absolutely. And maybe one day beyond Chicago. We shall see. Really cool. You know how young minds will take things up a notch. Maybe someone else kind of thought, and it is one of those ideas where it's not to say someone else didn't think about, like, we should be able to find out where they are at some point in time. But then that's like that next generation that says, and I know how to solve it, that comes up with something like this. Congratulations to him for coming up with it. And it's available now to everyone. Shy Sweep. All right, it's about 1:57. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and then I'll set you up for where we're going here on Chicago Live in the 2 o'clock hour. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's just about 2 o'clock right now, so let's talk about what's coming up in this second hour here on Chicago Live today. Before we get into the 3 o'clock hour, are going to have a conversation with some clergy, faith leaders in our area who have fought the good fight and continue to demand entry into the Broadview ICE Detention Center for months. During the height of Operation Midway Blitz, we talked to them several times as they felt like they were dotting every I, crossing every T with the federal government in order to be able to get in and deliver communion and just have a private time with some of the people who were being held there, and they were denied time and time again. I mean, they came around during Dia de los Muertos and other really significant moments that they felt people needed them, and they were denied. But after a federal ruling, that changed. Since then, I believe they've been able to get in once to have pastoral moments with some of the people who have been held there, and they will yet again this week. And so we're going to be talking to them about, as they gather, getting ready to go into the Broadview ICE Processing Center today. We'll also talk a little bit about EV chargers that are coming to several Menards in the area. We'll get into which Menards will have them, and also some of the rebates that'll even be available to people. So we'll have that information coming for you soon. But we're going to also have a couple of lawsuits that could cost big bucks for a couple of organizations and companies. One of those being a lawsuit that was filed that it's seeking over $2 billion for a family of a man who died after transporting dry ice. There was a sequence of events that just went horribly wrong, and we'll get into that sequence of events and the lawsuit that's now been filed to seek some justice for his family in just a bit. But first and foremost, we're going to talk to the head of aviation practice for Clifford Law Offices about that terrible tragedy that took place at LaGuardia. Let's go ahead and bring in Kevin Durkin. Thank you so much for your time today. We can't hear you. If you can hear us, see if you're on mute on your end. No? Okay. All right. Maybe we'll have him log out and log back in, but just giving a little background here as we're waiting for that moment for him to log back in, Attorney Durkin. We've spoken with Clifford Law Offices several times before. They are recognized worldwide for litigation having to deal with aviation. So we spoke with them about the case in Kentucky, when there was the UPS plane that went up and immediately came right back down. It lost part of its engine on its way up, and we talked to them about the lives that were lost, and they believe the lessons that should come out of that for the companies involved. We've also talked to them about the DCA, collision that took place between the military helicopter and the commercial jet, and that horrible tragedy that happened that took so many lives. Again, horrible tragedy, but what lessons could be learned from what happened on that day? We've talked to them about things that have happened overseas, and yet we saw this incident at LaGuardia just recently where you're thinking, how did this happen? A fire truck that's on the runway, a jet that's coming in, and 2 pilots end up losing their lives, and so many other lives changed. Attorney Durkin is with us now. Thank you so much for your time. I do believe we've got everything straight. Oh no, still can't hear him. We're wondering if maybe you have headphones or maybe something interfering. Nope. All right. Technology, it's great when it works, but we do want to have this conversation. I mean, again, we've seen these situations time and time again. It's hard when we have close calls. It's even worse when we actually see people lose their lives, obviously. And so there are questions that have to be asked. The NTSB gets involved, the FAA gets involved, and you just wonder what will come from these situations. And as a result, sometimes there are major lawsuits that happen because of those things. And in this situation with LaGuardia, you had 2 pilots that lost their lives. Some people say that, they were really heroes in the way they conducted themselves on that plane that day, that they were able to avoid any larger loss of life. You think about that, the plane was full. So technically, if you think back to what happened at DCA, right outside of DC, Washington, DC, everybody on that plane lost their life. So it really is a miracle that only the pilots lost their lives on this plane there at LaGuardia this week, but just still so many questions about how it happened, why it happened, and how to keep it from ever happening again. I just saw a story the other day with one of the flight attendants who was ejected from the plane and ended up 300 yards away. And so just so much could have been worse. Kevin, I thought maybe I could hear you for a second there. Are you with me now?
I am with you now, but I'm on my phone, so
No, it's okay. I can hear you now. So let's proceed, because we actually can at least hear each other now. Tell me your initial thoughts when you even saw what happened at LaGuardia the other day.
Well, I'm getting a lot of background, but it was obviously a tragedy. It reminded me of the case in DC, because there's really an overload of work for the air traffic controllers that's going on. And we haven't modernized. We haven't modernized. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but it is echoing there.
Yeah.
Okay. They said if you turn the volume off.
How about now?
And turn it down.
Yes.
Okay, much better now.
Okay, so I just got off the other one. I'm on my phone. I apologize.
Okay, no, it's okay. And let's get you to just kind of turn it.
The DC crash. I immediately thought of the DC crash because you've got an air traffic control system that's overworked, not enough air traffic controllers, too many combined positions, and it just doesn't work.
And so what I'm hearing from you is that you believe this was preventable.
Extremely preventable. You've got, as I understand it, the air traffic controller that was at LaGuardia, one of the busiest airports in the United States, was controlling both ground and air operations at the time. He had combined those assignments. So not only was he controlling all the aircrafts, he was making sure everybody on the ground was in everything was safe in the ground with all the traffic on the ground, either airplanes or machines, trucks, etc. How do you do that in this day and age? And shouldn't we have a better system? There was no transponder in the fire truck. I mean, if you look at like Amazon knows every truck they have, where they are every second through their GPS devices. How can you not regulate that at an airport where one mistake can be so catastrophic,
Yeah, it is kind of mind-boggling, but at the same time, then you just think about the pressure on these air traffic controllers that something minute in the grand scheme of things could lead to death.
Well, you're correct. I feel sorry for these air traffic controllers. They've been, there's thousands of them that haven't been, positions haven't been filled, and everyone says they're going to modernize the system. It's not along both parties, and it never happens. Okay. There's other systems around the world that are much better than ours, and I don't know why we lag in those things. And you've had two with the LaGuardia crash. There were so many. With the DC crash, there were so many near misses there. Okay, we were on a plane in the last week where the plane had to pull up and in Fort Myers because there was a truck on the road on the runway. Okay, how does these things happen? Now there was fortunately enough time for the go around, but in this case, I believe the pilot was like within feet of the runway when the truck came out onto the intersection.
What do the other countries? You mentioned that there are other places that have kind of a better system than ours. What do the other countries have that we don't?
Well, they have ground surveillance, so they can actually see where everybody is. Everybody's got transponders, and they can see where everybody is before they go. Okay, and they're so. Who knows what this air traffic controller actually saw? Overbooked, overworked. Late night, probably could be tired, doing two jobs at once. And did he actually see where this truck was going to go? And when he gave him the approval.
It's just so sad. And I think, when for a company like yours, for a law firm like yours, that has dealt with so much litigation when it comes to aviation, I mean, are you like, oh my gosh, it happened again? What goes, it's just kind of, it seems like these are rare, but at the same time, I mean, we could rattle off a few things that have happened just within the last 2 years.
There's been so many of them. It's still very safe overall, but you do have, Boeing's had issues, as you know, with their rushing through certification of their aircraft, and it caused them billions of dollars. The 737 MAX, which, we were lead counsel on it for the litigation, as we represented 71 of the passengers. And so Boeing's had their troubles, the FAA's had their troubles, and now you've got the Port Authority here, having, what did they do in New York to prevent this, okay? I mean, you got to look, those guys in the truck, what were they thinking? We're going to find out this when we get the interviews, and we'll know more, okay? I mean, it's one thing to say it's okay to go, but you need to look what's coming. This airplane clearly would have been visible to them at that stage, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What more do you think needs or can be done? I mean, we've talked about the heavy burden on these air traffic controllers, but as you said, I mean,
yes,
there's a lot of different entities that play a role in preventing these types of situations. So it's not just the air traffic controllers alone. So what more do you think needs to be done to protect the flying public these days?
I think airports like LaGuardia and Reagan in Washington, D.C. are small airports geographically, and the airlines have increased their flights, and they're just over capacity. If you compare the footprint of LaGuardia to O'Hare, yesterday I was at Dallas-Fort Worth. I mean, that is a huge property, okay? You've got a tight property, and you got more and more airplanes coming in a confined space in an urban area. You need bigger airports or more airports. It's not going to happen in my lifetime, but you need bigger or more airports, okay? That's with expanding air travel.
Yeah, we, immediately as you're saying that, in our area, you mentioned O'Hare as a comparison, but then you also think we do have a smaller airport, Midway.
We do, but I don't think Midway is anywhere as congested as LaGuardia or Reagan.
That's fair.
Okay, and I do think that, but we do have a smaller airport, and we've been fortunate there. The only occurrence, we represented the family that when the airplane left the field many years ago, when there wasn't enough protection at the end of the runway, and they came out onto 55th Street. I don't know if you recall that. The Southwest, it was a 737. And it ran over a car of people on the street, okay? But there have been relatively few occurrences at Midway.
Wow. And of course, we don't want any more.
No.
You know, again, every time you see them, it's just, it sends chills through your body because, I mean, what do you do? I mean, what do you do? Those poor folks there at DCA on the plane, what do you do? Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, but that is really preventable because, you know, there were helicopter routes and the people from the airlines, the pilots weren't trained about the helicopter routes and they were within a couple hundred feet. So they're going to be intersecting each other. And it was just, you know, the airline did not educate their pilots enough on that. And they knew the issue. There'd been dozens and dozens, even more near misses over the years. So these both were highly preventable occurrences.
Yeah, and so at least for the DCA one, we know that they are making some changes to that airspace, and the jury is still out for what will change as a result of what's happened at LaGuardia.
Yeah, the jury's out, but I know there'll be a push to make sure there's transponders so they could see on a screen where every truck is. I'm hoping that they don't combine positions like this again, you know, that they have enough people so one person can concentrate on the ground traffic and one can on the incoming air traffic, okay? And I think that's, you know, this is at 11 at night, so I guess they think there's less traffic, but less air traffic, but you know, it's a hard time at night. When you got lights, it's darker, and it's more difficult for the air traffic controllers. So combining the positions, I think, is a big problem, and I'm hoping they remedy that.
Well, if it saves a life, we hope so too. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here on the show. Thank you for sharing your expertise yet again.
Thank you, and I apologize for the audio problem. It's obviously on our end. Thank you.
It's okay. Quite all right.
Okay.
We're glad that we got you so that we could have our conversation. All right, everyone. It's 2:17, and we're going to continue on this legal kind of, tip right now. So give us 2 minutes, and then we're getting into this case about a $2 billion lawsuit that has to do with damages as a result of a wrongful death lawsuit. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back. It's just about 2:20 right now in February. A jury in Madison County, Illinois, awarded a family $241 million in damages as a result of a wrongful death lawsuit. And we're going to kind of work through exactly what took place for them to end up in court with such a tragic situation. Lance Northcutt is an attorney with Salve, Shostak, and Pritchard, who is joining me now to talk about the case. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Walk me through where this began.
This began back in 2016. A gentleman by the name of Eric Johnson had a small business. He was a courier, kind of a mom and pop shop. They would do local deliveries, flowers, things like that, in a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri. He was married to his wife for 42 years, an amazing woman named Paula. And they had a remarkable family by any stretch of the imagination. They were remarkable on all fronts. Paula and Eric had 3 children of their own that grew into adulthood. But when those kids were small, they also found it in their heart to adopt 2 very special human beings, very small children who had profound disabilities. Both had cerebral palsy. Caitlin, the daughter, had been abused in infancy and had sustained permanent brain damage. She had PTSD, a whole host of issues that made her completely dependent on other people. And Eric and Paula took that little girl in. Not to be outdone, they wanted yet another member of their family, and so they took in Corbin, who was a young man with cerebral palsy, who had mobility issues, who had memory issues, and together with their 5 children, they were a unit. Now, with 2 kids that grew into adulthood with this level of disability for both of them, they had to work as a team, and they did throughout the course of their lives. They were an incredibly loving, tight-knit, close family, and they were dependent on each other in every sense of the word. And in 2016, Eric had a job to go and pick up a shipment of frozen strawberries from a local dairy. And he picked those up in 4 coolers that were packed with dry ice. Now, he was not a hazardous material transportation courier or anything like that. He didn't understand the danger of what he had in the back seat of his small Honda hatchback. They went to get this delivery. And as it turned out, this dry ice, when put in an enclosed space, sublimates, which means it goes from a solid material straight to a gas. And that gas rapidly displaces oxygen. So after he left the facility, within a very short period of time, he became disoriented, pulled into a parking lot, and within 2 hours, he was found dead. He was taken to a hospital. They had revived him for a while. He lived for a short period of time and ultimately passed away. And what happened after that really led to where we are at now and how this came to court, first in the underlying litigation, and then now at the point where we're done with the underlying litigation. There's been a verdict, there's been a settlement. Now we're at the point where we're going to hold accountable Travelers Property Casualty Company of America, which was the insurance company that insured the defendant, which we have now learned was the problem all along. Because the defendant in this case, Prairie Farms Dairy, very much saw the liability. They very much wanted this case to end. And they very much wanted to avoid a trial and reach a fair settlement that would have avoided the hardship and the uncertainty for all parties. But it was Travelers behind the scenes all along that refused to do it. And so now, under Illinois law, what we are able to do is we become what's called the assignee of a bad faith claim. And what that means is if a defendant is sued in court and that defendant has insurance, and that defendant says to the insurance company, look, I'm in trouble here. I need help. I need you to settle this because that's what I paid my policy premiums for. What is supposed to happen at that point, if you're dealing with a fair insurance company, is they have to look at it objectively. They have to give the interests of the insured equal consideration to their own. They can't just say, we're going to take all your policy premiums, and then when it comes to the moment when you're in trouble, we're not going to pay. And unfortunately here, that's what they did. And under Illinois law, we are allowed by agreement or by a judge's order to step in the shoes, literally, of the defendant in a situation like this, where there is an excess judgment that happened because the insurance company refused to deal in good faith. So in a very strange way, under the law, we become that defendant for purposes of going to court for the next round of litigation, which will be in federal court in Southern Illinois, where we are going to be asking for not just compensatory damages that led to the $241 million verdict, but punitive damages, because we believe the conduct here was so bad that a message needs to be sent to other insurance companies that you cannot do this, that you cannot gamble with the fortunes of your insured.
Well, it's certainly one of those issues that people across the country can relate to in terms of frustration with insurance companies. Obviously, maybe not to this level, but on some level, many people have felt that claims and complaints, concerns, frustrations have gone unheard for sure. So this is the $2 billion now that you're seeking from travelers. How do we get to that number? I mean, it is massive, and we understand that there are at least 2 lives that will need caretaking for quite some time. So kind of let us know how you come up to the $2 billion.
Well, understand that the wrongful death case, that case is already done. There's already been a verdict in that case. What we are doing now is stepping in the shoes of Prairie Farms to prosecute the case, the civil case, against its insurance company, Travelers. And so it's not really what we would do in the underlying litigation, where the focus is on Paula and her family and what it would take to compensate them. What we are doing now is stepping in the shoes of the defendant, the former defendant, in order to go after what occurred as a result of Travelers' conduct. So how do we get there? When we say we're going to seek $2 billion, is that just monopoly money? Is that crazy, just pie in the sky figures? Well, it sounds like it until you understand really how these laws work. So there are 2 elements of a bad faith claim. There are compensatory damages, the largest part of which, of course, is going to be the verdict. So the compensatory damages, what it takes to make what it would have taken to make the defendant whole, in this case Prairie Farms, begins with $241 million plus interest. That's where we start. Then on top of that, we have to consider all of the other things that happened as a result of this judgment. Because this company did not want this case to go to trial. This case never should have gone to trial. And they were doing everything within their power, unbeknownst to us at the time, to convince Travelers to step up to the plate and settle it before trial. And then when the verdict hit, as you can imagine, the consequences to a business like this one that had been in existence since 1938 are catastrophic. Collection efforts happen immediately. There's reputational harm. There's all kinds of business disruption. And all of that becomes part of what we would call the compensatory phase. Now, in a case like this where we go to federal court, if the facts rise to a certain level, meaning if it's something that's not just negligence of an insurance company, but something that really borders more along the lines on recklessness or intentionally disregarding risks to the insured, that's where we get into the idea of punitive damages. And just like in a personal injury case, where punitive damages can be awarded, those are extraordinary circumstances. And punitive damages are, as you might guess by the name, designed to punish. So it's not about making the person who's been harmed whole or the company that's been harmed whole. It is quite literally punishing the wrongdoer, punishing the defendant, not just to teach that defendant a lesson to not do this again, but to teach others in their situation not to do it again. So when you send a message through a punitive damages verdict, you're not just talking to one defendant before the court. You are quite literally talking to anyone else out there that could be in a similar situation and trying to influence future behavior. We had punitive damages in the underlying case. And what we had argued quite successfully at trial was We needed to send a message. We needed to tell not only the defendant in the underlying case, but other defendants that might be out there that you have to communicate hazards. You have to have written communication protocols. And the jury obviously found in our favor. In this case, the message that we would be sending, presuming this goes to a jury trial and there are punitive damages that are being argued, is an insurance company has to act in good faith. And when a defendant, when an insured, the people who paid all those premiums over years and years and years, come to you in their hour of need, you can't duck. You can't ignore the harm. You can't say, you know what, sorry to hear that your business could potentially be derailed, could potentially put you into bankruptcy court, could potentially disrupt all your customer relationships. But we're going to keep our money, and we're going to lowball in order to see if we can get out of this cheap. And so the message that we would be sending to every insurance company out there that thinks of doing this again is watch out. Because if you do it and your insured gets hit with a large verdict, that large verdict may not be the end of the story for you. Because in cases where the facts and the law support it, where punitive damages can be awarded, and they're allowed under Illinois law, the consequences for that insurance company can and should be catastrophic. We see these commercials all the time, every day, the funny insurance commercials. And what do? What are they trying to sell us? Trust. They're trying to say, trust us. Give us your money. Of all the things you can spend money on, saving for a rainy day, give it to us, because if you ever get in a situation where your interests are compromised, we're going to protect you. That was the promise the Travelers made to this company, and they broke that promise. Flagrantly, repeatedly, in ways that are so unique. All the attorneys who had been on this case had never seen anything of this nature before.
Well, you made that very plain, and we've learned some new things today, especially about this the bad faith claims. What is the time frame that this could take now? I mean, obviously you don't know whether they'll settle early, but I mean, the possibility of what is the time frame you think?
The time frame, really, it's already begun. We've already filed our complaint in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Illinois. We've already been assigned a judge. The defendant, in this case, Travelers, has been served with a copy of the lawsuit, and we are underway. And so what happens from this point really is dependent on how the judge in our case is going to move the case along. There will be a period of discovery where we're able to find out information from the other side, and they are able to find out information from us. And then down the line, there will be a trial. So it really depends on how the case unfolds. This is, though, a case that I would anticipate will go to trial. It's an egregious case. And in all the time that we've been doing this, this is as bad as it has ever been from our perspective.
And then the money that would be claimed, should you all win this, that would go back to then Prairie Farms.
There's a lot of nuances there. There would be set-offs in the event of a verdict that would go back to Prairie Farms for money that they've expended in the settlement. And there's a lot of nuances in terms of how that would all play out. But effectively, what we're looking for is the largest recovery possible to not only compensate all parties, but again, to send a message.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We certainly appreciate it, Attorney Northcutt.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. And again, he's with Salvi, Shostak, and Pritchard. It's 2:33. We're going to get in a 2-minute break, and then we're going to talk about EV chargers going at several local Menards. Welcome back, everyone. 2:35 right now, and we see more EVs on the road every day, and more people thinking about buying, upgrading, however you want to see that, for new cars. But of course, a part of having an electric vehicle is like, okay, well, now you got to kind of map out the charging station so you know what's available to you and that you never get put in a pinch. And there are several new charging stations that are coming to our area. So I want to bring in Alex Urist, the co-founder and senior vice president of marketing at XCharge North America, and Joe Sheehan, CEO of JoJo Superfast. Thank you so much, both of you, for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about this partnership and what it's bringing to our area.
Most definitely. Well, I'll start off here, and then I'll kick it over to Joe, who's really the main star of the show around here. But from our perspective, I'm Alex here, as one of the co-founders of XCharge North America. We're a manufacturer of EV charging stations, particularly DC fast charging stations, which are those that are going to get you an ultra fast charge at the end of the day. Generally looking at charging in minutes as opposed to hours.
Wow.
We've got a really exciting project that we just kicked off here with JoJo Superfast, and Joe can tell us all about it and what he's been working on.
I think you're on mute. I think it's on your end, Joe. There we go. All right, I think you're good to go now.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, as Alex was saying, so basically JoJo Superfast is a company that I've set up to roll out superfast EV charging station throughout the Chicagoland area. We're co-located with Menards, obviously one of the best hardware stores in the Midwest. And we're setting up 4 locations on the south side of Chicago. We're doing Crestwood, Bridgeview, Tinley Park, and Hotchkiss. And then we'll have about 6 more locations that are going to come on site throughout Illinois in the next year, and hopefully expand from there.
I mentioned, how often we start to see now EVs on the road. Tell us about, this is pretty game changing to see so many of them come into our area at once, and then also look down this list and see how many are on the way.
Yeah, it's been great. We've been able to partner with the Illinois EPA and with ComEd. So basically, they're coming, you're seeing them pop up now, but it's actually been in the works for 3 years, is when we first started discussions with Menards. So they might look like they're coming fast, but it hasn't necessarily been fast to get them done. But they're all coming online now, which is great. It just takes a lot of work to get them done, but we're happy to have the support of the EPA and ComEd to get these rolled out.
And with having that support comes the ability to do some rebates here too, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 sources of great funding for me and my company. The EPA has granted me grants for part of the equipment, and then ComEd has rebates that allow for part of the electrical infrastructure. So it definitely helps subsidize the project, which is fantastic for any developer to have part of the project subsidized. It kickstarts it, and basically encourages people to support the project.
Tell me this. Why do you think this works in Illinois, of all states?
Oh, Illinois is one of the best states for EV charging. The tax incentives that they offer people that buy electric cars are phenomenal. It's one of the states that has kept their incentives in place despite the federal mandate or federal grant going away for individual drivers. So Illinois basically just supports EVs. So it's the best state for me to start in. And then hopefully as EV adoption spreads, I can move into neighboring states similarly and basically grow and scale through Menards, which is a great real estate partner.
Yeah, and Alex, I see that you are co-founder, you're president from Illinois here, an Illinois native. Just talk about what that means to you all to be able to do something like this in this state.
Most definitely, it's very interesting. It's very much full circle for us. Funny enough, I'm currently sitting in where our first location was for an EV charger here in the U.S., out in Tinley Park. Not one of Joe's locations, unfortunately, but soon to come. Joe will also have other chargers here in Tinley Park, but it's actually at a hotel. And what we did when we first came into the market was we choicely chose a hotel in Illinois because it is frankly a hub of everything out here into the Midwest. Do you have a ton of drivers coming through? It's co-located across major interstates, and is really just an attractive area to have charging generally. For us, and particularly my co-founder and our president Atish, this is full circle coming back to Illinois and being able to work on a grander scale. Joe's got an excellent vision for what he's being able to execute with Menards, and we're just lucky to be able to support him on this mission.
And when we talk about vision, for years, the complaints were like how long it takes to charge them. You mentioned, changing hours to minutes, which is remarkable. Where do you think we're going with all of this?
Speeds continue to increase, but speeds are also very much dictated by a few different factors. The type of car that you're driving, the type of battery that's in that car, the heat, or whether or not you preconditioned your battery pulling up to the charger. But what is true is that battery technology is improving and charging technology is improving, and the ability to deliver that power to cars is improving. What is also getting better simultaneously is utilities and utilities' ability to supply the power, which, to Joe's point on timelines and what takes delays is it's often trying to chart where that power is coming from. So, we're often dancing between a number of different projects that we're coordinating on and trying to see which one is going to get power first, even if we have the hardware ready to go. It's just a big facet of the EV charging industry. It's one that we balance, but it's moving faster and things are getting put in the ground a lot quicker now. We're seeing projects move much more expeditiously. And, this year alone has already seen growth of chargers quite significantly compared to years past.
Well, congratulations to you both and all of your partners, and can't wait to see people having a new option. Again, everyone, Crestwood and Bridgeview are operational now. Hodgkins, Tinley Park coming in May, and then there are several planned for the rest of the year. So continue to keep us updated as you grow.
Thank you so much.
Take care. It's 2:43, and we are going to be speaking with the clergy in Broadview after this break about being able to get inside of the Broadview ICE facility there to spend this Holy Week with people who are being held on their way to deportation. It's just about 2:45. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be back with that and more. 2:46 right now, and we're starting to see people running around outside, not because it's a beautiful sunny day, but because they got caught in some downpours that came down just a short while ago. Still some rain coming down even as we speak here, but things could get much worse as the day goes on. If you think about yesterday this time, we were hearing from Emily that today's game for the White Sox, the home opener, had to be postponed to Friday. That time moved from 3:10 today. So if they had stuck with the 3:10 time frame, it would have been trouble. So they did the right thing, moving it to Friday. Tomorrow it'll be at 1:10. We do believe they'll be able to get those games in, that game in tomorrow, the home opener. You see all those folks out there at the Bean. Strong to severe storms could bring tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail across our area, Chicago, Northwest Indiana, and southern Wisconsin today, everyone. So we want you to be weather aware, meaning know what's going on, and also be weather ready, meaning have a plan should you need to act fast, okay? But let's talk a little bit about one of the planned activities for today for clergy in our area. We have Father David Inchauskis, who is joining me now to talk about faith leaders. You're out there at right outside of the Broadview Ice Processing Center, and you all are going to be going in shortly for communion, right?
That's right. I'm out of Broadview right now. Hopefully you can hear me all right. And behind me, we have things getting set up for our Holy Thursday celebration, which will take place both outside and inside the Broadview detention facility.
Walk me through if someone is unfamiliar with what that will look like.
Yes, so this is a day on which traditionally Jesus had met with his disciples at the Last Supper. And as the servant leader that he was, he chose to wash their feet. And so we will have a public foot washing celebration outside of Broadview, knowing of the importance of feet for migrants. Many migrants who have traveled thousands of miles in order to reach our common home here in the United States. And to be able to wash each other's feet is to show a sign of the dignity of the human life of each person, especially for those who are detained here in Broadview. We'll also have a small delegation of 4 ministers, 3 priests, and 1 religious sister, including myself, who will then seek access to the Broadview detention facility, similar to what we had done on Ash Wednesday at the beginning of Lent, and now here we are at the end of Lent, entering into Holy Week. And it's important to note, too, that Holy Thursday is the day on which Jesus himself was detained. He was praying with his fellow disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane when Judas had arrived, and with the Imperial Guard and with the help of also local religious authorities who disliked Jesus's teaching, they detained him there and put him in prison. So very significant for us to be able to minister to those who in our own context are being detained and oppressed today right here at this facility behind me.
Father David, I mentioned earlier that you all made attempt after attempt after attempt to get into that facility during the height of Operation Midway Blitz, when there were so many more people than you would expect today who were being processed through there. A lot of people felt like it was being used as a detention center for how long people were having to stay there. Things have changed that allow you, or should allow you, to get inside now. How does that feel to go from those attempts that were being met with denials to finally being let in?
Well, I would say first that all of it is sad, and it always is sad. The fact that there are people who are detained here in Broadview, and that's to be denounced and to be opposed. But it is true that our coalition, for many months, consider the first time that we attempted entry here in Broadview was in October. That's 6 months ago, half a year ago at this point. And we had fought for access so that we would be able to care pastorally for our sisters and brothers who are detained here. We failed again in November because of ICE's refusal. But it is true that just a few weeks ago on Ash Wednesday, 4 ministers were allowed in because of a federal judge's order. And we, of course, had followed up on that order in advance of Holy Week, hoping that we'd also be able to get in for Holy Week. And I was present in court on Monday and we heard the judge's order once again, ordering us to have access to the facility each day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And for now, we do think that DHS will allow us in on each of those days. We requested that we would have access both in the morning and in the afternoon on each of those days, and they responded by saying that we would be allowed to have access every afternoon. So here we are for the first of those 4 possibilities of going in. And it is always heartbreaking to be able to have to minister in this context, but we hope that this will provide a modicum of support and comfort and care for people who very likely have been recently picked up. When we were here on Ash Wednesday, there were 0 people in the facility detained when we arrived, and those who were inside informed us that 4 people would be arriving within an hour and wanted to know if we would be willing to stay. And we did stay, and all 4 of those people had been asked if they wanted to receive communion and to pray for a moment, and all 4 did receive and did have that moment of prayer. And from what I heard from those who were in on that day, it was really a touching moment and a moment of comfort and consolation in an otherwise treacherous and oppressive situation.
Yeah, I mean, how does it change perspective even on an ongoing situation that you know, in large scale can't change? Like you can't take people out of there. You can't change their circumstance. So how does it change your perspective on things to be able to get in there and spend time with people in the midst of this trying time in their life?
Right. Well, I think if we want to relate it to Jesus Christ, you know, there were those who were accompanying him through these moments of great difficulty, these last days of Jesus's own life. There were a few, especially faithful women, but also his beloved disciple John, who stuck with him till the end and who were accompanying him through that process. And that's so meaningful when you have someone from your community who knows you, who loves you and cares for you, who sees you in a moment of deep dehumanization in our country. We heard reports the other day saying that people who were not at this facility in particular, but at facilities to which those who had been here at Broadview had been sent to nearby states who were in detention, that the ICE officers there were calling them dogs. I mean, this is a deep dehumanization and oppression. And so to have someone, a friendly face, to be able to minister to you in this moment, to see your humanity, to pray with you, to give you the Eucharist, potentially even to wash your feet, that is re-dignifying and recognizing the inherent dignity and the inherent rights that each person has given by God.
And Father David, just on a final note, you know, what do you say to people who will see what you all are doing, hear your words about the circumstance people are in, who are there in these facilities, but feel that they may be there because of their own actions?
Yes, well, I think that people have the universal right to be able to migrate, and also people in many cases have been fleeing situations of oppression. They may be suffering greatly economically, and they come to the United States seeking community, seeking a better life for themselves and for their families, and they should not be punished for that. They should be embraced and welcomed. As Jesus Christ himself had said, we should love those who come into our communities, not treating them differently, but treating them with a special care and a special attentiveness. It's not only that we should be welcoming those who may be coming as migrants or refugees, but we should have a special attentiveness and care for them. And I would just encourage people to see that human situation of our migrant sisters and brothers, and to respond as Jesus would with care and with love, instead of with rejection and oppression. And we hope to give witness to that loving, caring option of Jesus Christ together today here outside of Broadview, and for the 4 of us who will go inside as well.
Do you have a time frame and how long you can be in there?
So the general time frame has been 3 to 5. We are going to have this short liturgy here outside of the facility beginning here in 5 minutes, but then around 3:15, our delegation of 4 will attempt to go in. Last time, those who were inside for a little bit more than an hour and 15 minutes as they were waiting for that van of 4 recently detained migrants to arrive. And so we don't know exactly how long it will take, but for the 4 of us who go inside, I would say we're willing to stay as long as it takes in order to be able to provide that pastoral care to those who are in there now or to those who may be arriving soon.
Father David, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
You all be safe. Thank you. Bye. All right, everyone, it's about 2:57, and give us 2 minutes, and then we'll set up for where we're going in the final hour here on Chicago Live. Hey, welcome back, everyone, and welcome to our final hour here of Chicago Live for the day. Still plenty of conversations to get into today before we turn you over to the 4 o'clock news. But, we are getting a lot of rain today, and we really have all this week. But still, we're hearing about a lake in the southern portion of Illinois that they're delaying opening to because the water levels are not there. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up around 3:45. We're also, and I'm looking right out the side of my eye, I can see TMZ going in on some of the congressmen and women and where they've been during this time where we have a DHS shutdown, where neither side is budging to the extent of something actually being done. And so we're going to be speaking with the executive producer for TMZ about how they're tracking folks these lawmakers during this time that they're on break. We're also going to get into the Artemis. Oh my goodness. Was it not just the most magnificent thing to watch the launch yesterday of Artemis II and know that there were these, years of big and small things that all came together at once to allow for a successful launch. It was right around 3:30 or so our time yesterday, and you saw all of these people out celebrating, and it was a moment really of unity for the country where we could all see something that was really a success, see it as a success, that we were putting these humans back into orbit where they will now go further than any other humans and quicker than any other humans and really set the course forward for more space exploration in the years to come. But we're going to be talking with MSI a little bit about where we go from here and what's already happened, okay? Short period of time, a whole lot goes into it, but we'll talk a little bit about that because today there is another pivotal moment. The launch in and of itself was a pivotal moment. Today there's another pivotal moment that we'll talk about. But first, we have the commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety to discuss newly tested DNA evidence that has connected notorious serial killer Ted Bundy to the 1974 murder of a 17-year-old Utah girl whose body was found naked, beaten, bound, dumped along State Highway in Utah. I want to bring in Bo Mason now. Thank you so much for being here with us today in Chicago Live.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It feels quite odd that we're still getting new revelations about Ted Bundy this far along the journey from where this all began.
Yeah, looking at 1974, the technology just wasn't available to do what we can do today. And so this case was presumed to be a Ted Bundy case all along. He actually admitted to this murder. But the fact that there was no way to confirm that other than his testimony, there's nothing to confirm the evidence that was there until we have the technology we do now. And so the fact that we're maybe not uncovering a lot of new crimes that were committed by him, the potential's there. But this crime in and of itself just really brings closure to the family and puts a solidified lock on the fact that we know without a reasonable doubt that it was him now.
Mm-hmm. And I know Ted Bundy's name. You know Ted Bundy's name. Most people that are baby boomers, Gen X, older millennials know Ted Bundy's name. But let's say, we've got a wide variety of people who view every day. Let's say somebody's in Gen Z, and they're saying, who's Ted Bundy? Give them a little bit of a history lesson.
Yeah. During the 1970s, there were multiple serial killers that have been identified across the United States. And Ted Bundy was one that his crimes are believed to originate in Washington County, multiple crimes tied to him there, murders of, generally the same specific age range of female victims, young female victims, dark hair. There was a profile he followed from Washington, came into the state of Utah, multiple murders here in Utah that are tied to Ted Bundy. went into Colorado and actually committed the same crimes on multiple female victims in Colorado, was taken into custody in Utah by a Utah Highway Patrol trooper and charged with a crime here, not for the murders, but was in custody, and then again was taken into custody in Colorado, where he escaped, and I believe went to Chicago, where he then made his way to Florida and again committed more murders of young female victims in a sorority house. Just really nationwide individual that horrified America, because young women were scared, and the communities were shocked by these violent crimes that just went unsolved for years.
Shocked and terrified. And what do you think we as a country, and even for law enforcement, what did you all learn from that period of time, or from the Ted Bundy cases, maybe as a whole?
Well, I think, law enforcement investigative techniques have came a long way since the 1970s. Criminal profiling was developed that helps in those things. But the biggest advancement has been in technology. The tools we have as a resource to law enforcement today, really make these crimes much tougher to get away with. DNA, for one, the tracking technologies that we have, whether that be cell phones, vehicles, those kind of things, all those things combined really help us today be much quicker to hopefully solve, prevent, and stop crimes like this. And so I think we learned a lot. Preservation of evidence is a key one in this. When you look at the way the Utah County Sheriff's Office took evidence in 1974 that may have had no way to tie this crime, but they preserved it. And it's because of that preservation that we can today use it. And so now looking at it, what evidence do we need to preserve as law enforcement for a crime that may not have a lot of meaning today, but through the use of AI or new technologies might have meaning 5 years or 10 years from now, or 51 years from now, like this crime.
And do you think that it's still, does it still give you chills? When new aspects of his crimes come to you all's attention, or when you have to go back and look through all of this yet again, does it still move you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess the closest way to really bring that close to home was the family was present yesterday at this press conference. As we have the sisters of this victim, Laura Amy's family was there, and all these years they'd assumed it was Ted Bundy. To finally get that closure, it really brings that close. In law enforcement, the victims are there, and everything we do is to try to solve these crimes. One, to eliminate people from our society, get them out of society so they're not a danger to anyone else. But the second part of that is to bring closure to the victims' families, sometimes hopefully the victims if they're surviving, but to bring that sense of security and safety back to our communities.
And it certainly points to the fact that, efforts on law enforcement's part were ongoing for all of those years for us to even have this conversation today. How does a family continue to hold out hope that there will be closure over that time? What do you say to them?
I think that just comes from, good, clear communication and being transparent in where the case is. It's not always, in a good place when you're looking for a suspect and you don't have one, but being open with that family to let them know where the process is. And sometimes we have to keep evidence close to the vest, because if you don't have a suspect, you may not be able to release everything. But just trying to build that rapport with the family and let them know that we are continuing to pay attention to these cases. In Utah, we have cold case units. We have one as a state, we have multi-jurisdictional. And so we're constantly looking at these cases and trying to bring them back up and look at present technology and how we might utilize something new to bring closure to these families, to bring a resolution to these cases.
Were there any original detectives that were still around or that were there for the press conference?
I believe there was one detective in the audience that was employed with the Utah County Sheriff's Office at the time this was investigated originally.
Wow. What does that mean to work on a case? And I mean, obviously you're not the person, but being in law enforcement, is there ever a time, like with cold cases, when even you all kind of think like, oh, we've hit a wall here, and especially like if you've got to turn it over to another set of agents or detectives. What psychologically does that even do in terms of the law enforcement perspective?
I think our big thing is we just never lose hope that we can continue to find resolution. We have some very famous cases within the state of Utah. We have a Susan Powell case where she went missing several years ago. And just in the last week, human remains were found in the foothills of a small Utah community. And, that begins to come up. Could it be her?
Mm-hmm.
And there's another missing young female in that same community. Could it be her? And so we don't forget about these cases, and we don't put them behind. They may not be able to take precedent once they become cold, but they're not forgotten. And so as a law enforcement officer, we want to see every case come to a resolution. And it is painful to watch a case go cold or to even take a significant amount of time, because you just know potentially there's a suspect out there that could continue to commit crime against other vulnerable people.
Yeah, well, from 1974 going to a Halloween party to her family finally getting closure. We're so grateful that you all did stay on this case and finally at least give them the information that they can move forward with.
Yeah, thank you. And that credit really Utah County Sheriff's Office detectives just staying engaged in this, and then their evidence technicians, just preserving that evidence long after maybe it was thought that nothing would happen. Just that continued drive and motivation to not lose sight of an individual case, and they're doing this with multiple cases. So a lot of credit to them, and then a lot of credit to our crime lab, those technicians that just dive into these really hard cases to find that vital piece of evidence that's going to be the key to closing it.
Are there any other outstanding or any other theories behind Ted Bundy that you know of that law enforcement anywhere, your jurisdiction or others, are still looking into to this day?
Absolutely. There is a lot of speculation into how many victims he truly had. There, from Washington to the state of Utah, in that time frame, there are missing individuals. There are still unsolved crimes that happened in that time frame with maybe individuals that fit the profile. And so we have not closed out cases that will still continue to be looked at and now ran against, the new information we're getting and we will continue to get and the new evidence, and see if we can close out more cases and really solve those crimes as well. It has the potential to be more than just this one.
Wow. Well, I hope those families get the answers they need as well. Thank you so much for making time for us here today. We certainly appreciate it, and thank you for what you do on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Take care. It's about 3:15, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back to talk about Artemis. Welcome back. 3:17 right now, and right about 5:30-ish yesterday, most people in the country either had their eyes to the skies if you're on the East Coast, especially down in Florida, or on a TV or on your phone so that you could see the launch of Artemis II. What a beautiful, successful launch that required so much to go right, just for the launch to happen. And, you know, for a while, they actually stopped the clock at 10 minutes, held it up because they had, you know, just a bit of a glitch, and then they held it for a while at 10 minutes. Then they finally did that final countdown, and right around 5:30, we finally saw it go up into, up into the air, and it was just amazing to watch. We want to kind of check in on where things stand, what's still to come. Obviously, we watched something that took a lot to get it up in the air, but there's a lot to keep it in space as well. And so I want to speak with Vula Saradakis with Griffin Museum of Science and Industry. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, first and foremost, give me your reaction to watching the liftoff for Artemis II.
I was so thrilled and excited to see this because I had only seen Apollo launches on replay and never live. Of course, I was a little too young at the time to remember. So to see this was so exciting, and it just makes me think about this next generation that will be inspired by these missions.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, you saw people like cheering, some people crying, the kids out there that have even bigger dreams than maybe those before them. And as I mentioned, there's a ton of math and science and engineering that goes into just being able to get liftoff successful. Talk a little bit about that, the precision that goes into that moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the biggest challenges on liftoff is to get past that Earth's atmosphere, and that really requires a lot of firepower. So that's what these rockets are for. And so they, and it's interesting because they use the hydrogen and oxygen, liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen for these burns. And then once those external engine tanks get used up, that's where we see them peel away. And then there is more firepower that actually gets that spacecraft into the initial orbit, which is a low Earth orbit. And then there's a bunch of other things that have happened in the last 24 hours and that will now happen moving forward to get it to the moon.
Yeah, and what was the little glitch that held them up at 10 minutes? Was it like a battery or something?
Well, there were two from what I know. There was this battery glitch, but also they had an issue with the signal that goes to those rockets that indicates whether or not they're off course or on course. If they're off course, they don't want these rockets to just land anywhere on Earth and hurt people or whatever the case might be. And so that signal had to be fixed and taken care of to keep the rockets where they needed to be, so on track for the mission.
Gotcha. So those were the glitches while they were on the ground. Once they got up into the air and into the upper atmosphere, did anything else go wrong?
Well, not that I am aware of. I think I checked in with them this morning, and by checked in, I mean I turned on the NASA live feed, listening in from about 6 in the morning until now, listening in, and I heard a bit of chatter at the beginning, and everything seemed great. They did take about a 6-hour nap or so in the morning, and just about an hour ago, they woke up to some music. They're talking about temperature and looking at everything that they need to look at before they enter what's known as the TLI, or the translunar injection. injection burn, and that's mainly communications, life support, environmental systems, and other systems. They want to make sure all of that is nominal and working correctly before they enter this burn, because that's what's going to send them to the moon.
And so the burn is essentially kind of the make or break moment outside of launch.
Yeah, it's actually called the go or no go moment. And I'm happy to say that as about 3 minutes ago, or 4, maybe 5 minutes ago, on the live feed, Mission Control did say that we are go for TLI. So it sounds like it's a go. And what this burn is really all about is just taking a single engine burn, and that's going to be a sustained burn for about 6 minutes, a little under 6 minutes. And it's going to provide over 6,000 pounds of thrust.
Wow.
And currently it's scheduled for approximately 6:49 p.m. Central Time. And that's what's going to place Orion on its trajectory to the moon. And what's interesting about this trajectory is that it's called a free return trajectory. So the craft is not going to need any other major additional propulsion or engine burn to go to the moon or return to Earth, because it's going to use the moon's gravity to slingshot itself around the moon and send itself back to Earth.
Wow, that slingshot, I've heard so many people kind of marveling at just even the term that wait, they're going to be, what a slingshot.
And slingshot just means it's going to send them around the moon. It's just the way that the gravity, it's amazing how gravity, you were referring to science and technology earlier, but using that information to be able to do something like this without using any, there might be some minor course corrections along the way, but just that single engine burn to have it travel to the moon and just use the moon's gravity to slingshot it around the moon, which means just to have it orbit the moon. And it's going to orbit in a figure 8 pattern. So it's going to go to the moon, it's going to do that figure 8 pattern, and then it's going to come back to Earth without needing all that extra propulsion. And what's really interesting too about this particular trajectory is that it's a much more distant trajectory than Apollo ever was. So Apollo missions, the command modules kind of orbited around the moon at approximately 70 miles distance from the surface of the moon. Orion is actually going to travel up to 5,000 or so miles further than the Apollo missions ever did, which means that these astronauts will in fact be the first humans to travel this far into space.
It's really amazing stuff. And this is a test flight. Are we already getting some lessons thus far? And talk a little bit about where we go from here.
Yeah, so we are getting lessons. I mean, the crew and mission control, they're keeping track of how everything's operating. Everything, of course, is being documented and recorded. They want to make sure that everything that is working like it should or nominally is doing what it needs to do. And so far, everything looks great. When I was interesting hearing them ask, we're seeing that it's about 70 degrees. This is ground control. 70 degrees in the spacecraft. Is that comfortable for you? Do you want us to raise it to 73? And the crew's saying, no, that's fine. So of course, there's a little bit of this trying to, figure out what's comfortable for the crew, because the crew safety is so important. And in terms of what's next, so once that TLI burn happens in about a couple of hours or so from now, then it is going to set it on its trajectory on its way to the moon. It will take about 4 days to get there. And then that's when it will start that flyby and go around the far side of the moon. They'll be able to see the far side. Humans have not seen the far side of the moon since 1972, when we last went to the moon, of course. And they're going to take the opportunity to take pictures, study geology and moon dust and everything they could. They're going to see the moon fill in the entire view of their windows, with the Earth being, quite distant and a lot smaller away. But they're probably also going to see something very important called Earthrise. And Earthrise was what was photographed on the Apollo 8 mission that is become such an iconic image, where you see the Earth coming over the horizon there of the moon, and they're probably going to experience that as well. So it's going to be a mix between the old and the new, and it's all so incredibly exciting.
Oh my goodness. I think I would probably, if I was on if I was on Artemis, I'd probably like tear up seeing that. Like, wow, my eyes will never be the same again.
Oh, I am sure that happened. And, there's an interesting phenomenon with astronauts when they go into space and they look back to the Earth and they see the Earth. It's just this deep, profound experience to know that everything and anything and anyone they ever knew is on this blue planet.
Yeah.
And the further they travel, the smaller and smaller it becomes. And it just gives them such incredible perspective about the world on which we live. And that will be another thing I think they'll experience, because they're going to be traveling so far from the Earth. And most astronauts get to experience that. Now, 3 of them have been to space, so they've seen the Earth from space. Not this far, but they've been to space. But Jeremy Hansen, who's from the Canadian Space Agency, this is his first mission, so it'll be quite a treat for him.
Oh yeah, his eyes will be wide the whole time. You all have an Apollo capsule, I hear, there at MSI. Did you feel the need to go over to it and study it all over again, knowing this was coming up?
Yes, because the resemblances in terms of the mission are so uncanny. So just like this is a test mission to get us to the moon, while it's not landing on the moon, it's to travel to the moon and back. Same thing with Apollo 8. Apollo 8 was the test mission of the Apollo missions. So Apollo 8, its job was to, with the 3 astronauts on board, was to travel to the moon, orbit the moon, come back. They had all sorts of other objectives that would help lead to the first landing of the moon, but they also were the first to experience Earthrise. And so there is this sort of parallel between these 2 missions, and to have the command module here of Apollo 8 when this mission is happening is such an incredible experience. And we got to talk to guests this morning. I was out on the floor in the rotunda talking to guests, telling them, look at the launch footage was playing on our screens. Definitely look at that. But then go to Henry Crown Space Center and get to experience that Apollo 8 for what it's worth, and see how similar the missions were in many ways.
Oh my. Well, we are certainly still praying for the crew, 4 people up there that will have quite the story. I'm sure some books are on the way when they get back. Thank you so much for your time, sharing your expertise with us. I'm sure we'll be checking back in.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care. Everybody, it's about 3:31. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be back. Welcome back. 3:33 right now. Our friends at TMZ kind of put out the all call. You know, we are in the midst of a partial government shutdown right now and the war in Iran. And of course, lawmakers have a lot of major decisions on their hands that have not been made as they go on break. And so they put out the all call saying, hey, if you should see them out and about while they're on this break, let us know. And boy, what they have been finding. Executive producer Charles Latibaudier is joining me now. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me, Anita.
So I was just looking over my shoulder moments ago, and it said, Congress living it up. So tell us what kind of stories you all are getting, what people are finding.
Yeah, people have responded to this in a big way, and I think it reflects just how fed up they are with the fact that Congress isn't getting anything done, and they just went on this two-week break without funding DHS, which meant that thousands of government employees were working without getting paid. And the response, like I said, has been incredible. We got photos of 30 members of Congress in Scotland on a vacation over there, which they say officially is a congressional delegation. So that means that you, the taxpayer, are actually paying for this trip that they're on now. We also got Lindsey Graham. Senator Graham was down in Disney World. Got a photo of him holding a bubble wand while he was down there, which is very interesting. He was also went and rode a Space Mountain. We got Congressman Robert Garcia in Vegas, sitting at a bar at the Fontainebleau Hotel. And we actually just put one up just now in a guy from your area of the country, John James, a congressman from Michigan. He's in Turks and Caicos, hanging out with, it looks like a family vacation. Got a photo of him at a restaurant on the beach, having a good time. So, look, everyone, no one's going to begrudge the fact that everyone gets vacation time, and you should use it when you get it. But it just is rubbing people the wrong way that this vacation for all the members of Congress comes as they refuse to actually do their jobs, which is to compromise and actually pass legislation, especially, at the very least, legislation that would allow federal employees to actually get paid. And, you know, while TSA workers are now being paid because the president had to sign an executive order to get it for them, Congress is still not doing their part, which is they're supposed to pass laws that allow these people to get paid. And that's why we're doing this. It's, I don't want to, you know, it was kind of a spur of the moment decision to do this. And Anita, what happened was last week, we were talking to a TSA officer in Idaho, and she was telling us what she was going through and trying to feed her family, trying to pay the bills, and, you know, without having any pay for, at that point, I believe it was 4 weeks she hadn't been paid. And this came after a shutdown that they had to go through back in the fall. So it just, we said enough was enough. And that's, that happened the day before the vacation started. And that's why we just started this campaign.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the crux of it. Yeah, everybody deserves vacation time. But when your job is literally holding up someone's ability to go on vacation while you go on vacation, it's just kind of, the look of it is way different.
It's a really bad look. And remember, all those folks who don't know when the next government shutdown is coming, they can't budget their lives. Yeah. And, you know, and even though, like, the TSA officers are getting paid now, but they're deep in the hole and they're in debt now that they have to try and dig out of, and just as they're still trying to dig out of the debt from the fall shutdown. So it's a really impossible way for these poor folks to live. And, you know, I think it's clearly the public has had enough, and that's why we keep getting these photos sent in. And I'm telling you, it's really spurred us to launch something that we'd been working on doing anyway, but we're going full force now, and that is launching TMZ DC.
Aha. breaking news. TMZ DC. Oh boy.
So
if they get the
you will see
Hollywood treatment in the airport.
you will see our guys and girls in DC doing our thing, which is, covering pop culture, which has always included politics. We've covered politics over the years, but we've done it sort of from afar. But we're going to have more of a presence right there in the Capitol. So something for members of Congress. They can get more used to, interacting with us and talking
presence.
to us about pop culture.
Yeah, your presence is a gift.
I'm not sure they see it that way, Anita, but we'll see.
What are the comments that you're getting from people as you all are posting these pictures and things that you're getting in?
Most people are saying exactly what we were feeling that day we spoke to Rebecca Wolf, the TSA officer. They're just saying enough is enough. And, I think what it's also doing is spurring a lot of people to look up who their congressmen and their senators are. Because if they didn't know, now they're looking out for them just in case they run into them, while they're on this 2-week recess, which, by the way, hopefully is going to be cut about a week short. We spoke to Congressman Jim McGovern from Massachusetts today, and he said that he was actually in D.C. He's the only member of Congress we've found who's actually in D.C., and he's there. He said, hoping that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson calls everybody back by Monday to actually vote on funding the Department of Homeland Security.
He's in D.C., which is why he was willing to talk. Have you all heard from any of these lawmakers? When people are getting the pictures, or if they get a video, are they asking them, do you feel bad about this?
Now, we haven't gotten any, videos from people who are actually asking questions of the representatives, but we have called, whenever we get these images, we call their offices. Sometimes, to be honest, they don't respond, or they say, thanks for the call, no comment. And then other people their offices seem shocked that people are upset about this. So what do you mean? What's the problem? Well, the problem is people are upset that you're not doing your job. And so we've had those conversations with some of their representatives as well. But, this is what's going on, and I will say, when we post these stories, Anita, we're not mentioning what party they're in, because we don't view this as a partisan issue. It's nonpartisan, and it's because really the whole point of it is it's the Republicans' fault and the Democrats' fault, because they aren't compromising. And if they did, we wouldn't be in this situation. You wouldn't have all these federal workers who are struggling right now. So we're not mentioning what party they're in. The only time that the party comes up is inevitably when we call their office for a comment saying we have this photo of a representative wherever they are on vacation. Inevitably, their office writes back and says something like, well, it's the Democrats' fault, or it's the Republicans' fault. We voted to open the government, but it's their fault. So, yeah, there's a lot of this going on, as usual, when you're talking about anything happening in D.C.
Yeah, as usual. Yeah, you're right. And I do want to ask you, I'd be remiss if I didn't, is there any concern as these pictures are coming in or being posted about the safety of these lawmakers who are out and about, and people are very angry, and we've seen horrible events that have taken place over the last several years. Is there concern about safety for doing something that, yes, might seem one way on the surface, but
I don't think so, Anita. We have made it very clear we're just asking for photos. In fact, we haven't even really said get video, and most of what we've gotten have been photos. I don't see that. I know what you're saying about the environment in the country right now, and the reality is that environment exists before we started this and before we said anything about it.
Sure.
I think that environment is just there due to the rhetoric that there's been in the country, but I don't think that's an issue here. It's very clear that we've made it very clear to people what we're just looking for are photos. We just want information about where they are and how they're enjoying their vacation, because unfortunately it feels like it might take some public shaming to get Congress off the dime and to actually do their jobs. But yeah, I don't think there's any concern about that. Nobody thinks that's what's going on here. And like I said, from the start, we have never made this a partisan issue. This is, we are not putting up photos of one party or the other. It's whoever we got, and we've gotten plenty on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. Can't wait to see TMZ DC.
Yep, it's gonna be a wild ride.
Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, you too, Anita.
All right. It's about 3:45, everyone. So give us 2 minutes. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. Ready for our final conversation here on Chicago Live for the day. And it feels a little odd because we've had these storms kind of rolling through our area off and on all week, that we're actually talking about historically low water levels for some parts of our state. I want to go ahead and bring in John Wilker with IDNR and the Conservation Police Sergeant David Wolgast to talk a little bit about Heidecke Lake. Thank you so much for your time, both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Tell me, is it as shocking to you as it is maybe for those of us who don't monitor this stuff on a regular basis, that though we have rain in the area today, for us, in Chicago, that this is a thing, historically low water levels right now?
Well, I mean, actually, many parts of the state have been in, low precipitation levels or drought conditions since about late October of 2024. Grundy County, where Heidecke Lake is approximately 8 to 15 inches below normal precipitation levels. We've also had some unusually warm temperatures there last summer as well, which leads to increased evaporation. So yeah, it's surprising, but not unexpected that we're dealing with low water levels at Heidecke.
Mm-hmm. And given the things that you've seen the last several years that you were just speaking about there, I mean, you were with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Did you have to do a delayed opening before?
No, we've been, the DNR leases about 1,300 acres of Heidecke Lake, which is owned by NRG, for hunting and fishing opportunities for the citizens. And we've been doing that since the late 70s. And we've never had to close the lake like this since that point in time. So yeah, this is something a little unusual for us.
And so, Sergeant Wolgast, what is the beginning of April typically like for you all with Conservation Police?
Well, it's the opening of Heidecke Lake for us. We have several different lakes around here that open at different times. They kind of stagger, but Heidecke opens April 1st. It's usually fairly busy with boats. People are anxious to get out after the winter season. If the weather's really nice, it'll be really busy. Obviously, the last couple of days, it hasn't been the greatest with the rain, but there were several bank fishermen out there because the lake is still remaining open for bank fishing. It's just not for boaters because of the unsafe conditions for boating.
Can you talk a little bit more about the dangers of low water?
Yeah, the lake is not made to be just a fishing lake. It was made for a cooling lake for the plant when there was a plant there. And so it catches the wind. It can be extremely dangerous. It's a large open area, and when the wind picks up just a little bit, it catches it a lot faster than it does down below. And the wind picks up, the water gets rough. And also so that the water surface is what they needed for that lake to cool the plant. So it's not really necessarily a deep lake. The deepest spots we've got is around 30 feet. A lot of places are a lot lower than that. And out on the lake right now, with the water being down around 4 feet from what it was when the plant was operational, when it was maintained, some of the water areas are about a foot and a half deep. So you'll be driving across the middle of the lake, this big giant, like John said, 1,300 acres that you can fish, and you'll hit a spot that's only a foot and a half deep. Well, a lot of people run across the lake really fast, especially if the wind picks up and they're trying to get back to the harbor because it can get dangerous. If they hit that lower unit on their boat on that shallow area like that, they can get thrown out of the boat really easily. So it's not a safe condition out there with as shallow as it is.
Oh my, wow. And I mean, how much rain do we need? I mean, what does the water level need to be like for it to finally open?
Well, our projected, go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think our projected water level would be 508 feet.
So how long do we think it'll be before that happens?
It's going to depend upon how much precipitation we do get this spring. So far, I think in the last 30 days, we've had about somewhere between 3 to 4 inches. If we get a normal April, I can't really say, but we're hoping that the lake opens as soon as we can.
So I'm just looking that 2025 ranked among the top 20 driest years on record for the region. Do we think we'll continue to see these like later and later, more and more delayed openings over time?
I think the important thing to remember is, the Collins Station has been closed since 2007. And so this is the first time since then, and it's the first time since we've been leasing the lake, that the water levels have dropped this much. Normally the lake is low in the winter and early spring, and then the precipitation comes and raises the water level in the lake. We've actually had too much water in the lake, and we've had to release water out of the lake in order to maintain a safe condition. So it normally fluctuates. This time it's just a little low, and we expect that if we get normal precipitation levels, that the lake will reopen and we won't have a problem in the future.
Any other lakes throughout the state that you feel are in this type of situation? I mean, and maybe, obviously this is one that people frequent, as Sergeant Wolgast kind of described there in terms of what people like to do out there. But are there some other lakes around, popular or not, that are in the same condition?
Not that I'm aware of. I'll let Sergeant Wolgast answer for himself in a second. We do the important thing about Heidecke Lake is it's a perch lake. It was created for the water cooling of Collins Station electric generating plant, and so it's not a normal lake that has a large watershed that when it rains, it gathers from a large area and fills up. So the watershed for Heidecke Lake is extremely small, and that's the problem. Most of the other perched lakes that I'm aware of, like Braidwood Lake, are still serving as a cooling lake, and with an operational power plant. So their water levels are maintained. I don't know, Sergeant Walgast, do you know of any other lakes low?
Well, I know Clinton Lake is low too, because that's only watershed, and that's just from talking to the other officers down there. But then again, it is a maintained nuclear power plant right now too, so they have to maintain a certain level of water in there to be able to operate the plant safely. So while the water level is low down there too, it's still not as bad as it is here at Heidecke. And it's a whole different dynamic too. That's a flooded valley basically, and Heidecke Lake is a perched man-made lake where the water wasn't as deep to begin with.
Very interesting. Thank you both for what you do and for informing us of what's going on today. Is there anything that you think people should take from this right now? About where things are or how they should behave?
Yeah, when we do open the lake back up, even if we do open it back up at the level that we're anticipating, like John had said earlier, 508 feet above sea level, it's still going to be shallow out there, and people are going to have to take extreme caution when they're cutting across the lake and doing things like that, because we are still going to have somewhat shallow spots. We feel it's going to be safe enough for operation at that point, but there still will be shallow areas out there, and it's not the 510 feet above sea level that it was when the plant was in operation.
And I guess I will just add to that the bank fishing at Heidecke Lake is still open. And yesterday on opening day, there was quite a few people out there. So take advantage of that if you can.
All right, get your fishing in, but don't do much else. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here, and again, for what you do on a regular basis.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. It's 3:55, everybody. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be back to close out the show. Welcome back, everyone. 3:57 right now. And before we let you go, I just want to point your attention back to what's going on outside today. You can see a lot of folks that are out there at the Bean getting in a little time without the downpours that we were experiencing just a short time ago. Keep in mind that we are anticipating a dangerous round of severe weather that is expected to move through our area today. Chicago, Northwest Indiana, southern Wisconsin today. There's a threat of strong tornadoes, damaging winds, heavy rain, and rapidly changing conditions. In fact, right around 2 o'clock this afternoon, a tornado watch was issued for parts of Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, and Wisconsin that lasts until 8 p.m. this evening. So that includes DeKalb, Grundy, Kendall, Kane, and McHenry counties. Please have a plan in case things go south while you are out and about, or if you're at home, make sure it is you know where you need to go within your home should the weather take a turn for the worse. We certainly hope everyone will be safe this evening. The 4 o'clock news on through the 9 o'clock news will make sure that you're prepared.
500 miles an hour, as long as it stayed in low Earth orbit. But think about that. 17,000 faster than a speeding bullet. It's amazing. We could do a whole series on it. We'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
All right, there's a lot going on. I'm Terrence Lee.
I'm Dawn Hasbrook. Sylvia.